Welcome to Power Hour, the definitive live web show and podcast, delivering interviews and news from industry leaders, indie developers, and people from around the community. Another episode of Power Hour starts now with PowWarPig, Sploom, and Joric Gaming.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Shed Power Hour. I'm the host, PowWarPig. This is our 17th episode. I'm having a hard time processing it because this is like about a year almost now. We're coming up on a year where me and Bizzo started chatting this up. So thank you, Bizzo, for helping me make this a reality and a thing for the Shed. This is fantastic. And greetings, everybody. Thank you for coming back and visiting. We've been down and out for about a good month or so here. We had QuakeCon, Gamescon, PAX. It's just been eating up so much time and resources on everybody's front. So, quality 900p. Is it lagging out for everybody? Okay. Tonight we have it's a streamer highlight episode in a sense. It's one of our first ones. We're really gonna start trying to do these more. Defext, welcome, the most powerful cyborg in the multiverse.
Power.
And DragynsLair, the most powerful dragon on Mixer. Does that work?
Whatever. Whatever works for you, man.
Oh man. Before we hand it over to them and just go crazy, thank you guys for doing this tonight, especially Dragon on a short notice. I just felt like this was like the perfect storm of people to have together. So for this episode, quick little news bit for everybody. If you don't know, Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern, community meeting time. We're going to talk about PAX West, some upcoming ShedCon stuff, and it's going to be in the conference room. So be there, be square. We're going to have, in Saturday morning, Sploom, 7 a.m. Eastern, is going to be doing Spider-Man over on his channel, on mixer.com/Sploom. And it's going to be lit. That Spider-Man game's looking hot. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't play
It's looking crisp.
I'm gonna hand it over to Dragon and let him talk about the Mixer Variety Streamer Initiative.
So we're going to open up with Mixer Variety Streamer, huh?
Yeah, we're just gonna let you bring it up.
Just let me bring it up. All right, guys. So I'm DragynsLair. Most of you have probably seen me around the yard at one point in time or another. And one of the initiatives in the Shed that I kind of spearhead is the Mixer Variety Streamer Initiative. And what is that, right? So everyone who's a variety streamer knows that there are issues with variety streaming if you want to get noticed. The biggest issue being that you have no idea what you're going to play from day to day. And people tend to gravitate toward the popular stuff, and we don't always play the popular stuff. So how do you combat that, right? Well, the answer is you don't focus on the system. You don't let the system decide whether you're successful or not. You kind of do it yourself. So what Mixer Variety Streamer is us doing it ourselves. There are a handful of us in the core group that right now we're pulling together people who are interested in being promoted. So there are 6 of us right now that do kind of are in the process of building a round robin style promotion where we pick a streamer to spotlight on our stream that is a variety streamer that has given us permission to do this. And it's about a 5-minute spot. We talk about them live. We do it in the middle of our stream. And then we move on with our day, right? So different streamer every stream. I'll pick on a couple people in chat because I know they're a part of it. And keep in mind, we haven't officially restarted this yet. So, for example, Maika might have a set of streamers that she has in her rotation, whereas my set of streamers might be slightly different. And Storm the Bard's set of streamers might be slightly different. We might go back and forth between them. But at the end of the day, everyone's going to get everyone that's part of the pool will get some kind of representation across the 6 of us. And that's pretty much the long and the short of it. We're taking a audiences that we know like variety streaming and bypassing the system by introducing them to variety streamers.
So no 24/7 BR mode?
What's BR?
I actually had that asked to me the other day, and they were serious.
Brazil? Is it Brazil?
Brazil.
Technically.
Bacon and
Yeah,
rare steak. I don't know.
But that's Mixer Variety Streamer in a nutshell. And if anybody is interested, please feel free to contact me. I will guide you to the TheSHED site that Bizzo has graciously posted in chat. Make sure you fill out the form. You don't have to join the site. Just if you don't want to join the site, you don't have to. We appreciate it if you do, but just make sure you fill out the form. The link is just underneath the header on the left-hand side.
Awesome. And that's the other thing too. We have the website today. We posted up. We've been posting a little bit, trying to figure this all out. And now that it's up and going and working, it's pretty much like, hey guys, you want to be more involved with the Power Hour, kind of have some input to what's going to be here and stuff like that, and maybe give suggestions or topics, or even a certain episode like as tonight, and provide maybe some questions that you want to ask Dragon or Defext about what they do or why or what their favorite food is or how big their underwear is. So, go to the site. This is the best place for it. And you can always message me in Discord and stuff, but there's no promise that I will have that message all the time, because stuff gets fumbled around and lost in the mix of like the 30-something channels I'm in. So the website is just a great place to keep everything nice and tidy and logged, and we can see it and go from there. And if you're afraid that somebody might not, you're nervous about providing an idea or a topic and letting everybody see it, you can always just add me as a friend and on the site and just DM it to me. It's fine. That works just as good. But all right, Defect, the cyborg. This I have been blown away by this. So the introduction for myself and a lot of other people, we had a TheSHED team meeting, and we got done and we were deciding to go raid a channel as we usually do and share that TheSHED love and get around on Mixer. And somebody suggested Defect's channel. We were like, what's going on here? So we all went in there, and instantly everybody was like just shocked, laughing, happy, surprised, entertained. And it was it was crazy, and it spiraled out of control. What was that moment like for you, and how has that influenced like things going forward for you?
Well, I mean, coming on a Mixer when I first came on, it's been pretty crazy. I mean, my second cast, I got something like 80 followers, and I was just like, is this for real? Is this like someone hacking or something? Someone, multiplying, faking views or something? But I gotta say, the impact Mixer has had on me has been quite profound, and the friendships I have had and found on this in such a short time, 3 months now, has just been mind-blowing. And your guys' raid got me to actually, later on after your show, go check out your webpage. And that's how I came across Storm the Bard's channel for the first time. I was like, oh, well, I like this. It's kind of a character. So from there, I was like, well, I gotta get to know the TheSHED more. So from there, here I am.
Awesome. That is awesome. And this question. This is kind of like something for both of you too. Is like, how did you both? Because for me, I remember sitting in my mom's office, getting ready to play some games after she was done work and I could use the PC. And I was like gonna play some Team Fortress back in like 96, 97, something like that. And I was like, well, I guess I need a name. I can't, I was sitting there looking around the room, and I'm thinking, for some odd reason, WarPig was it for me. It just stuck, and it's what I've been for years and years and years now. And what did your character, did your name, was it something that just kind of like sprung up on you guys, or was it something that you had to like sit down and like plan yourself out because you're like thinking of all these other steps afterwards?
Dragon, go for it.
I've had dragons around me in my influencing my imagination in my life, my entire life. Between Dungeons and Dragons, video games that had them in it, statues that I've had hanging around, just around me all the time. And my original AOL name was actually my original stream name. This is a more of an offshoot of my original name. So the reason why I changed it is because when I came to Mixer, I looked at the Mixer name more like a show, and I'm the host of said show. So occasionally you'll hear me refer to myself as Danny. That's obviously not my real name. It does have meaning for me, but DragynsLair is the channel. It's the lair. It's my lair. I am the dragon. So the lair is the channel, and that's where it originally was born of. And now funny enough, everyone just calls me Dragon. So it
just kind of sticks. Yeah,
it just kind of sticks now. I have no reason to change it.
It's one of my all-time favorite arcades is DragynsLair.
And I hear that more often than you can imagine.
Good.
I'm
glad people are remembering.
Yeah, right. It's kind of like me hearing, "Oh, this man, Black Sabbath." All right, and I'm like,
yeah, it's the same thing.
I wasn't listening to it, nor did I even know of the song at that time for some reason. So it's like, okay. It's one of my favorite songs. All right, Defect, you're up.
Well, mine just took me and a friend. We were trying to brainstorm some names, and I had a very specific guideline that I wanted to achieve. I wanted it to be short, catchy. I kind of wanted it to capture kind of what my character was going to be about. He's kind of like a defected sort of cyborg, right? Bringing the power, but he's flawed, like the rest of us humans are, right? And and so my friend, we're typing on Twitch, different names, seeing if they were taken, and all these other names were taken. We were even thinking of calling myself Geppetto. Can you believe that? Geppetto. It could have been Geppetto, right? I know, ridiculous, right?
I'm a real boy.
So my friend came up with Defext and typed it in, and it wasn't taking my Twitch. And then we checked the Twitters and all the other outlets, and it wasn't taken in there. And I was like, wow, nobody's actually taken this name. So, and I was like, I can type it on one hand on the keyboard. So I was like, it's perfect. Defext it is. That's how it came about. Pretty simple story.
Awesome. How did Arnold come to be?
Oh, Arnold. this fat-headed, bug-eyed, right? Slit-mouthed, gray-bearded, spaghetti-legged idiot, right? Hey, watch it. Hey, don't be moving around up in here when I'm doing my show, right? Get out of my face. I'm doing a show right now. Jesus. Trying to move up on me. All right. That fat-headed idiot, anyway, was actually my original concept. I knew I had to have like an inanimate co-star to kind of try and steal the show from me, because I knew that works real well. And I was thinking originally from Space Odyssey, that movie, and Hal. You remember Hal? I was thinking of like just having like a big giant picture of his face, and I just like play off to him. And that was the original idea, of course, rough draft, right? And then I came across a Halloween store with this guy up in there. I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. It was all set up. You could hook a fog machine up to it, and you walk by it, and the fog machine, it fills up the fog. So I went and picked it up the day after Halloween when everything was half off. literally busted home on the bus. And, set it up. It wasn't intentionally to be a part of the show. It was just something, I want to have that around the house. That'd be cool to set up. It just became a part of the show. It just kind of seemed to fit in, right?
Well, now Arnold's like he's the
Arnold's-
co-star.
Yeah, Arnold's like arguably bigger than I am on the show. Like literally,
I found his brother.
that button that get all the buttons I have, the Arnold button is the most pressed by far.
So, Dragon, how long have you been streaming for? How long have you been doing this? Did you start with streaming, or were you doing just like YouTube stuff? Were you doing other things before that?
So I dabbled in streaming, I would say maybe 5 years ago. And I say dabble, I mean, it was something I did for my Final Fantasy friends because it was funny to do. We just wanted a record of what we were doing. You know, there was no real,
Yeah.
there was nothing serious behind it at all. And then I kind of hung it up. And I would say the real journey began almost 3 years ago. And most people who've been in my channel know about the RV. So that funny enough, that's where it started. So
In an RV?
kinda. Oh, you haven't heard this story yet.
No.
So May, a few years ago, we were my wife and I were in a weird place. We weren't happy where we were at, and we were on our way to visit a friend in Vermont. It's Red Bull time. And on our way up, we passed an RV, and she made an offhanded comment of, "We should just live in that thing." And I went, "Okay," which was not the response she expected, you know. And she started researching it, and you know, by the end of the weekend, it wasn't just a theory or a joke anymore. We actually had a battle plan. And after we got home, we started implementing the battle plan. And one of the things that she wanted to do was to be able to YouTube. And the only thing I knew how to do at that point, like I said, I had dabbled in streaming earlier. So I'm like, well, technologically, now I'm an IT guy. Technologically, it's the same thing. Streaming and YouTubing is the same thing. The difference is whether you cut the VOD or not. Other than that, the technology is identical. So I'm like, I have no interest in learning how to cut video. You can learn that on your own. I'll pick up streaming again, and I'll figure out what you need so that when it comes time for you to do your YouTube channel that you're planning on doing, I'll know exactly what you need. And that's where it started. And it's just progressed. I never put it down.
You seriously, like, you're streaming out of an RV right now?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
Not yet.
Oh, that's cool, man. No, I'm not sure. Like, that's awesome. Because I kind of want to do that.
We went from owning a house to moving to an apartment closer to my job and selling the house. We've purchased a 34-foot motorhome.
Nice.
Now we live in Maine, where she's getting the last leg of her experience. And after the first year of that, we're going to start dressing up the RV with equipment.
Nice.
And then the goal is to get in there and stream out of the RV and take the show on the road.
Like connections, like,
Yeah.
Is it going to be good? Like, you can get really fast internet out of that, or what?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know.
You just have to know where to go. That's the trick, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you go to the White Castle parking lot, not the McDonald's, you get way better Wi-Fi signal.
It's so true. Actually, there's equipment that you can pick up a Wi-Fi signal from 1.5 miles away. So you don't have to be in the right parking lot. You can be like 1.5 miles down the road and be mooching off Starbucks 1 mile away.
But that's going to be good for streaming, though?
Well, it depends on when you stream. If you stream at night when nobody's there, the bandwidth is completely free. if you are if you have the resources to get higher bandwidth cell plans, we already know you can stream off cellular because Mixer people do it all the time.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of having the right tools to do the job. It's not that it's impossible or even hard. It's just you need to know what to get and where to get it.
Yeah. That's the dressing up the part. Yeah.
Yes, that's the dressing up part. And you don't even need 5G. In fact, 5G isn't going to be viable for another 4 or 5 years.
I see.
What about you, Defect? How long you been cracking away
At streaming?
Yeah.
I've been streaming since before Twitch was a thing, before Twitch was even invented. I started streaming on Xfire. It was like a chat program for like gamers. Kind of worked like instant messenger back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But then they added like this videos tab, and you could go live. And basically their page, it was like a home page, and it just sorted it from left, right, up to down from the most viewers, the channel with the most views, and went left to right, and then went through pages. So I was always around the middle of that streaming on my dual core, a piece of crap Radeon card, like in 420p, trying to cut corners with with the layout and stuff like that. So it was really brutal. I couldn't really play a lot of online multiplayer, so I like stream things like Dead Space, stuff like that. That was 6 years let's say 6 years ago, and then they sold out. They sold their company too, and they fully changed it after and got rid of it all. So I was left googling up a new option for live stream because I got into it. I was like, this is a lot of fun. I can capture my gameplay and look through it and stuff like that. Study it, maybe improve, stuff like that. Back then there was no such thing as making a career out of it. It was just for fun.
Yeah.
And then I googled, and Twitch was one of the first things. It wasn't Twitch. It was Justin TV.
Yeah.
So I went on there and got my first account banned very quick because I saw other people streaming movies on there. And then shortly before they made Twitch, they changed their terms of service and banned all the people streaming movies, including me, because I wanted to get on that band. Hey, these guys are getting easy views. Let's stream some movies and then do some live streams. And then I got banned. Created a new account when they made Twitch. I went there. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. The things you learn, right?
It's like, I don't know what's wrong. I just showed Debbie Does Dallas, and I had like 600 people, and I was banned. I don't know.
The way I reason things. Hey, if they're doing it, I can do it.
What do you mean you can't stream XXX movies?
So, yeah, I started. I got interested in the whole like casting and things like that probably in like 2004, I want to say 3 or 4. A team I had there was a GBC Sports Radio that was casted over Winamp through IRC. And that was my first exposure to like gaming and like what it can do when it's getting put out to the masses. And then so it was like a big break in there, and then TF2 came out, and that turned into like the YouTube Video Central like tournaments and matches being shoutcasted and things, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. So I got into it about 2011, and it's spiraled out of control ever since. But we're all here on Mixer, which kind of like leads me to my next discussion point of on Mixer and Twitch and YouTube, and why you choose what you chose, and why
Your turn to go first.
Me? Okay. Why I chose Mixer? Well, I was on the Twitch grind. I started doing Defext on Twitch 7 months ago, and was scratching it. It started out pretty decent, and then I just all of a sudden just started scratching, clawing. That was when I was experimenting with Mixer, though. But things were just going downhill. It's just getting oversaturated for me. And one day, I got a message on my Facebook, just a private message. I had to accept the message to even, for him to get through to me. And it was from a certain Mr. Cancer Xbox One. If you guys are familiar with that guy who streams PUBG up on Mixer, he came and sent me a message saying, "Hey, buddy, I've seen your stuff. I think it's really awesome." And he said, "You got to come on Mixer. The community is incredible. You got to get in contact with me. We're going to talk about it more, and so I can talk you into this move." And he says, "You're going to do great things if you come on Mixer because Twitch is drowning you out." Is basically what he said.
Mm-hmm.
So we got in contact, and I told him, I said, I'll give it a try. I'll check it out. And the first place I went to was the Facebook Mixer Streamers forums. And I went on there, and I saw the community right there. It was the exact opposite of the Twitch and YouTube forums. It's just on Twitch and YouTube, it's nothing but posting your link, nothing but. And if people ask any questions, guess what? You're getting no reply, right?
Yeah.
Mixer streamers, it was like something out of heaven. Like, what is this? Like some kind of sacred place on the internet? Like, what's going on here? People having
Unsoiled
discussion. Yeah, exactly. People having like,
sanctified ground.
Yeah, no one's fighting and arguing and calling each other's name. Everyone's helping, giving advice and telling success stories and sharing their achievements. And I was like, wow, okay. Well, let's dip our dongers a little bit in the platform and see how it goes. So I kind of experimented with both, even though I was affiliate with Twitch and I was kind of breaking the rules by doing that. But I had to experiment, compare the numbers, and Mixer blew Twitch out of the water when it came to numbers. So it was an easy choice. But the community was really what sold it. All the friends I met in such a short time. So, but when it came down to it, to the actual choosing it, you got to go by the numbers. So that's what it was easy. So yeah.
Mine wasn't my choice wasn't by the numbers.
No.
I was on Twitch. I started on Twitch. I was a Final Fantasy streamer, and I had a couple people that I watched. One of them, if you're in my stream, you'll hear me talk about her. I still support her over there. It's the only stream I go into on Twitch at this point. I go in there once a month to give her my affiliate, my free
your sub,
my free Prime sub. I am her oldest subscriber. I was there when she was partnered, and she pretty much inspired the attitude, the beginnings of the attitude that I have towards streaming. And I found somebody who was leaving Twitch for Mixer, ironically through her. So I was waiting. She was sick one day, and her auto host picked up somebody who it was their last stream on Twitch, and they were straddling Twitch and Mixer, and she was going on and on about the about the community and how people are helping each other, and it's a first-hand account. It's not even on a forum. It's like it's her voice. You can see her inflections. You can see her facial expressions. She's very passionate about this. And I lurked in her channel for about 20 minutes before I said something. And the realist in me, the part of me that has common sense in the back of my head is like, there's no place like this on the internet.
It doesn't exist.
She's delusional. I have to ask questions. So I started asking her questions, and
delusional.
Yeah, that was my thoughts. I need clarification. So I started asking questions, and instead of getting the normal BS you get when you ask a streamer questions over on Twitch, she was answering them. She was like, yeah, this is the bot I'm using. This is this is that. This is how you do this. This is how you do this. I'm like, it's the Holy Grail. When's it going to disappear?
Yeah, that's what I keep fearing.
So I came over. I made an account that day just to follow her. And I poked around for a bit. And after 3 days, I made my decision. At 3 days, I'm like, you know what? I'm just moving. There's no point in me being on Twitch. I've already made friends over here.
How many followers did you have on Twitch when you left?
80.
Do you remember? 80? Okay.
Yeah.
After how long?
8 months, give or take.
Yeah. Yep. See, like oversaturated.
So I 3 days, and in fact, the only reason why it took longer Why my first stream was 2 weeks later is because I had commitments that I wanted to complete because that's who I am. And I did my final stream on Twitch on Christmas Day and moved the day after.
Nice. What a
Merry
Boxing Day
Christmas.
sale that was.
Fire sale, yeah.
Fire sale,
Wow.
everything must go.
And I'm not trying to cause it to be like, I don't want people to interpret like we're having a discussion about them and why they chose to come here. It's not a discussion on us going, man, that platform sucks. Or this
Yeah,
and-
yeah, exactly.
No,
it's-
Twitch doesn't suck. Twitch
There's
doesn't
a realist, it's a realist way to look at it, and it's a business model. Simple.
Yeah.
And
Twitch doesn't suck. Twitch is a platform. The platform doesn't suck. The platform actually has a lot. This is the IT person talking now. So if you strip the community out and look strictly at features, forget the community just for a moment, with the exception of FTL, and even that's not competitive anymore, Twitch has a lot more features than Mixer, and they are significantly better. The problem is the people, not the platform. So over here, over here we have tech issues. We have tech issues all the time, and they're blatantly obvious, right? So from a pure tech standpoint, if that's the only thing you were looking at, Mixer's not the solution for really anybody. And that's purely technical. I mean, even FTL isn't competitive anymore because Twitch can get down to 2 or 3 seconds now. They may only give it to certain people. It may be an exclusive thing. It may be based on time or whatever. But the bottom line is they can deliver it. So it's not going to be the features that determine where you're going to go. It's going to be the people that are there that determine where you go, because you'll tolerate anything if you enjoy where you are.
Yep. And at the same regard, though, like when you talk about like the technical difficulties of it, Twitch had all those technical difficulties probably up until maybe about a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
A year ago. That's when they started to really smooth out on everything they were going. I think when they got bought out by Amazon? Probably.
When they started, it's when they got a real. It's when it became Amazon versus Microsoft.
Yeah. So,
and that's the only time technical companies get their shit together, is when there's a real competitor. That's the nature of the business.
And that, my friends, is why we're on Mixer, because it is a real competitor. You heard it here first. Dragon said it without even wanting to. But no, like the growth on this channel, platform, excuse me. The growth on the platform has been so just month after month, ever since PAX East, I think was the real big turnaround. You saw things just start to mushroom cloud, and
yeah,
it's good. It's good for everybody, and I'm really happy, and I'm glad I'm here as well.
From a tech standpoint, we talked about that on my channel yesterday, that we're seeing all these issues, but I took it back to Final Fantasy 14, because a lot of people have played that game, at least in my channel. When Final Fantasy 14 came out originally, it bombed. So they built and keep in mind, this is a Japanese company, so there's a cultural thing tied to failure. When they rebuilt the game, they put the infrastructure in place to handle a certain number of people. They didn't expect the game to succeed. They didn't expect the marketing to do good. They didn't expect to have as many people as logged in, which is why the whole system crashed when 10 times the amount of people the system was designed for logged in day one. And they've been playing they played catch up for a year and a half, trying to keep up with the growth, with network problem after network problem after network problem. But eventually it's stabilized. That's what Mixer's going through right now. The difference is that in Final Fantasy's case, it was accidental. In Mixer's case, they're kind of They're almost
Overwhelmed.
they're almost intentionally pushing the envelope. They're marketing stuff that they can't deliver, and that's really the crux of the problem that Mixer has right now.
Yeah, they don't really have like that big name yet, but it'll come.
And no, I mean from an infrastructure standpoint. I mean from an infrastructure standpoint. The reason why we see slowdowns, the reason why we see stuff crash and stuff break, is because they're marketing the product in mass, but the infrastructure can't handle the load. That's the real problem, and that's the part that needs to be fixed. And we talked about this the first PAX they went to that the servers crashed. It's exactly the same problem. They're inviting millions and millions of people on, and the system can't handle millions and millions of people. And then everyone's wondering why the system is crashing. It's because the infrastructure is buckling under the stress.
It's like a good problem to have, but it's a bad problem in its own right.
Yeah.
It just like makes its own issue.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, but it's still a problem.
Yeah.
It's a good thing that Microsoft has a seemingly bottomless pit of money to work that out, though.
Yeah, right. And then look, it's kind of like watching the games that are coming out, right? We have all these, there's so many titles on the horizon, and the one that this almost like, kind of like, harkens to is Battlefield 5. You know, they're upset that their sales aren't where they need to be on the pre-sale for Battlefield 5, so it got delayed. They said, you know, well, pre-sales aren't up, so we're going to delay the game, and they're blaming it on Red Dead Redemption, which everybody gets excited when you say it. And then, you know, some other stuff that was coming out, so they moved it. And it's like, I don't think that's it. I think it's the previous results from Battlefield 1, from Battlefield 4, from Battlefront 2, and like all these previous experiences that have happened repeatedly that finally the players are like, I'm going to wait.
Well, yeah.
And
if you take a step back, it's not even just Battlefield 5. People are taking steps back from the pre-orders because they keep getting screwed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I've heard streamer after streamer, I'm not getting the pre-order. I'll just wait for it to come out. I'm not getting the pre-order. I'll just wait for it to come out. If I get a key, I get a key. Otherwise, I'm waiting for it to come out because I don't want to get screwed again. It's a common sentiment across the entire industry. It's not even just Battlefield 5. That's just the latest example.
What'd you get screwed on, Defect?
Oh, Star Wars Battlefront. Yeah, see ya, EA. Good doing business with you. Rest in peace, EA. You ain't getting my hard-earned space dollars no more. No matter what you do. I hope you're listening, EA. You're a bunch of idiots. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
The most bitter cyborg in the multiverse.
I can't stand EA. Anyway, we're not gonna get into that. I could go on for days about that.
We're
trying to be positive.
We're positively negative.
Yeah, right. Defect, do you feel that like games are becoming more of like a throwaway in general, or do you see it as like maybe like the AAA market is actually shrinking down because the indie games are getting better? Like what do you think?
Time constraints, pressures, criticisms, expectations, hype trains. It all seems to have a result in the end product, it seems. And that's unfortunate. I don't like that. I don't know what happened to the old days, where now everything's alpha, beta instead of full release. But it forces us to be smarter and better consumers. Most of us, anyways. So, in that way, that's a good thing. But it's just a sad state of the industry right now, in my opinion. It's a sad state. People need to start evolving the industry the way I've always envisioned it going. And right now, they're slowing down the progress rate. I think they could be going so much faster, so much better. They just listen, people work together. We could be going a lot faster rate at progressing the graphics and gameplay and ideas and stuff like that. but money, time constraints, and politics are getting all involved and kind of freezing it into this stalemate of muck and thick fog and gooey seaweed. We need some weapons, some real weapons to get this stuff out of my face and get going forward at full speed, full power. But I mean, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. We're starting to rise up, and we're starting to get really mad, and we're starting to hold a lot of people accountable, and they're gonna have no option but to shape up or lose a lot of money because we're not gonna shell out, like myself.
See, I see in like the whole, like currently some people know, some people are old enough to remember, and some aren't. But for those of us that are, in the late 80s, there was a huge crash in the game market because it was so oversaturated. Like, there was a big boom, and the gaming became like, it just exploded. It was huge. Everybody had like, the Nintendo games were being produced at like, I don't even remember the numbers, but a ridiculous rate. I'm sure Defext is probably really sad at the trash piles of the ET game that got slaughtered when they were getting brought to the dumps and trucks and just smashed. But there is it. I don't know. I see the market now as like it's another thing. It's just like it goes along with it. We see this like same situation playing out with Twitch. It's oversaturated, so people stop going there. You see it with like the Nintendo games back in the 80s. They got oversaturated. They stopped buying them, and the market just crashed out. And now we're at this point where it's like there's a big business for it because of I think because of the streaming and the YouTubing and stuff. But I also see it as like the quality of product is starting to deteriorate and suffer because they're just trying to pump out more garbage and shit. And it's not produced well. It's not done well. The AAA titles are losing that oomph. And the indie games, in my opinion, are coming out ahead because they're not investing that much money. They've got the freedom to work with a small group and do it on their own. Their time constraints aren't the same. And you get a game that's like, at its core, it's just a fun, replayable game. Well, I know Mega and a bunch of people play a bunch of these games like that are indie games, but they play them for hours and stuff all the time, streaming them. Yeah.
Is it any wonder why these AAA titles, whenever they market a video or any sort of video of what they're coming out with, it's always just it's completely absent of gameplay, and it's just some sort of movie trailer. Where's the gameplay? You know, where's the gameplay in your AAA title? It's not fun to play.
Yeah. Because Overkill's Walking Dead did that for months to me. Yeah. What do you think? Are you on? Where are you at on this topic? Dragon?
Where am I at?
Oh Lord.
I'll take it from a different angle. I'll take it from a different angle. I think part of the problem isn't just that. Think about what's required in a AAA game. There's a lot of overhead. There's 3 A's. There's a lot of overhead involved in what we classify as a AAA game. How many people have a cell phone?
I have one.
How many people have a smartphone? How many people have a smartphone that they carry with them all the time? How many have one that they have in front of their face most of the time? The problem isn't necessarily that. Part of the problem is that they're trying to pump it out, but the other problem is that they're competing with what's in somebody's hand. They're competing with convenience. They're competing with the fact that cell phone games are addicting. And yes,
there's games on my phone.
And yes, most of us here don't do that. But you have to remember that if you go back a little ways, what's the reason why the Wii was so popular? It had nothing to do with us. It had nothing to do with what you would call a hardcore gamer. It had to do with the fact that they were marketed specifically to families as a replacement for board games. That's why it did so well. That's also the reason why the second generation failed, because that demographic doesn't repeat buy. They buy once and say, I have my board game, I don't need to get it again. Well, the same thing's true with your cell phone. So you've got the majority of people that are getting their game fix with something that they already have to have. So it's not necessarily that the market that the market for AAAs is smaller. It's that the target audience is actually smaller, because as we get older, the younger generation is more focused on their phone and their tablet than they are on the TV.
Yep. Agreed.
Okay. All right.
Every time I'm doing, like, I have something playing, but I'm just kind of doing my own thing most of the time.
I use my phone for dirty videos only. That's it. So I don't.
Jeez, you need to large screen it on a big screen. What are you talking about, little tiny, little tiny screen on the phone there?
No.
And yeah, and I get that that's not everybody, but when we grew up, it was our parents handed us a console, not a phone. When people are growing up now, they're being handed a phone and maybe a console. So the market for that type of game is actually shrinking.
Yeah.
Can I get a handout, please? I would like a phone and a console as well.
Come to my house, I hand my kids a lawnmower and some dish gloves and stuff, man.
That's what you hand them, a lawnmower?
Yeah, so here you go.
And they go driving down the street with it?
Yeah. And the other problem is that when we were growing up, the games weren't designed to be addictive. They were designed to be a supplement. So we played games outside. We went out and we came back inside to play video games, that kind of thing. They've turned it into a business formula where they attack the addictive part of the brain.
Is he gonna go that route with the gambling?
No, I wasn't even talking about the game. I wasn't even talking about the gambling of the loot boxes. I just mean in general.
Yeah, I know.
Almost every phone game you have is designed that way.
Yeah.
Almost every single one, and that's the ones that adults generally hand to their kids, because they want their kid to have a phone because it's useful, and they can justify the child having a cell phone because they can get a hold of them. Whereas there's no purpose for the Xbox if they can already play games on their phone.
Yeah. It's cheaper too.
And it's cheaper.
Mm-hmm. Well, it'll nickel and dime you to death, but it's cheaper initially for them to what they see.
Exactly.
So it's like, yeah. I mean, that Candy Crush is like, it's a mobile meth lab. I mean, it's like, yeah.
See, that's not the way you expected me to go with that.
No, I had on my notes like different ways to look at this, and I think you hit. There's a couple different routes to take. There's probably more than one reason why we're in the situation we're in. I mean, it's going to happen.
Ultimately, the reason is that the market is now matured, and it's more about money than the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason.
Yeah.
In the beginning, yes, it was about money, but people wanted to bring enjoyment to people. Now, it's all BS marketing stuff, and it's become commercialized, and it's all about the money, and the fun is secondary. And once you hit that tipping point, it starts going downhill, and there's no way to get it back, because the money people aren't going to let go.
Yeah. I think a lot of people were worried because like Nintendo didn't really have much to show off this year at E3.
Really?
And all that stuff. And I think they're holding off because I think they're very smart when it comes to that marketing. And I think they're trying to push into that realm of the very small mobile devices, things like that. Like they're on board, especially with the way that you can hook up and go, come home, slide it in and play on your big screen. And, they're already like 75-80% on the mark. It's just more so the titles, I think, that hold them back from more than anything. But they've got enough addictive titles that even my kids now are playing the Super Nintendo Retro, and they love every game. They think it's like a brand new system. They're like, oh my God, Star Fox. And I'm like, go for it, buddy. Hit it up. So
it's older than you.
So I got to ask you guys.
Go ahead.
About because Forza Horizon 4 is coming out here October 2nd, and you might have heard that Microsoft, because it's made by Microsoft, that they are implementing this new marketing feature that's never been done before, where if you buy the game Forza Horizon 4 and you stream it, you earn special in-game cars for streaming it on Mixer, not on Twitch, on Mixer only.
Mm-hmm.
And viewers watching people stream that game on Mixer also earn the same points, get those in-game cars. First time ever done. What do you think about that?
It's their company, whatevs.
Would you like to see that, done across more games from Microsoft? Like, kind of seems like.
I think that was already kind of hit a little bit. Like, those that were really into watching the Battlefield 5 launch of everything and the telling everybody what's going to be in the game, showing the big trailer and everything. They ended up showing they did it all on Mixer, and they never gave any respects and any of this stuff. So there's definitely, like, in the backdrop you hear the shift in the winds and change of how they're
for
promoting
Battlefield.
stuff. Yeah,
EA just streamed
Mhm.
exclusively to Mixer.
that
Wow.
during that event was everything was
Why?
all promoted towards Mixer. I think they still had stuff going on Twitch, but they didn't verbally announce like anything like that. They talked about Mixer.
Wow.
So, and I think there's other games that are already pushing more of that, because you got to think, we get all those exclusives for being like Amazon Prime, things like that. That's already linked into Twitch. So Mixer's got to come up with some kind of incentive. So there's got to be things coming down the pipeline that's going to match, right? That's how you compete in a business. So
Well, I heard they're coming out with their own form of bits soon. Maybe it's just a rumor that I've been hearing, so maybe it's not factual.
I don't know. I don't have my tinfoil hat today to get into those. So moving on from that,
Mhm.
what has there been a game in your guys' past that has like defined you as a gamer, like this you play? Like for me, it was Team Fortress. Everybody knows that, and like that defined me, who I was going to be going forward through gaming and my history and all that. Is there anything that's really been like, this is the most important thing to you that you just treasured, you hold close to your heart no matter what, like, or how?
Final Fantasy.
Go for it, buddy.
Final Fantasy, hands down.
Yeah, I was figuring that. Pretty easy guess right there, right? And it continues to inspire you, eh?
Oh yeah, it continues. Sometimes it inspires me in other awkward directions, but it still inspires, for good or bad.
Damn chocobos.
Castlevania's a close second.
Wow. Like the originals?
Yep.
Oof. This is some hard
I
games.
still play Symphony of the Night
Nice.
routinely.
Cool.
Look at Pow's face.
I'm like, wow, Castlevania, like they just name drop like an old school. Like, and you know what it is? It's nostalgia for a lot of people that are here that are of the age that played those when they first came out. Like, I remember being a kid, going to my buddy's house, grabbing like, the carrying case with all my Nintendo games in it, and you'd spend the night for the weekend, and go to Video to Roll or Blockbuster or something, and you rent a couple games that you don't own, and you Domino's Yo-Noid game. That was awesome. But just
You're the cool kid on the block if you had the system,
Yeah.
The more systems you had, the cooler you were.
It's just like, wow, man. Like, River City Ransom had to have been one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
That game was hot. Nothing but beating kids up and taking their lunch money and buying new kung fu moves with it.
Yeah.
What about
I
you?
used to like
Defect?
to call up my friends and trade comic books with them. And try and rip them off with my dirt comics, but they're good ones. That's what I like to do.
What was the one that defined for you?
I would have to say World of Warcraft, Burning Crusade, and Wrath of Lich King. We went through this before. If anybody who's watched the channel has known, we went down memory lane on my birthday, their Donner days, and
happy belated birthday, by the way.
thank you, sir.
Yeah.
But 4 years on World of Warcraft during those times. I ran a 400 person PvP guild on an RP PvP server, Ravenholt.
Those videos were great.
Thank you. It was some of the greatest times I ever had. We held all kinds of unique events that no one else really ever did, and just it really felt a lot like Mixer does as a community. That's the closest I ever got, and I've always wanted to recapture that glory, and we'll see.
Yeah. I have to say MMOs have always been a huge, like, once I got into them, because I didn't do MMOs until WoW. I didn't play EverQuest. I didn't do Final Fantasy. I didn't even play Final Fantasy on PlayStation and stuff. Like,
Blasphemy.
I know, it just wasn't for me. I did play the originals back on Nintendo. I tried them, but I didn't like the action combat, the way what are they?
You don't like
called?
turn-based.
Right.
The turn-based.
turn-based.
I hated turn-based.
Didn't
I don't
like
like
that, eh?
turn-based. I can't play the South Park games. I like to watch them. I can't stand playing that. I need to be involved and have action. I need a lot of action, a lot of power. So
Power. You said the Q.
oh man, scared the hell out of me. Was Thanos right?
Is that a trick question?
No, it's not a trick question. Was Thanos right?
I'm going to tell you a quick story about that.
Oh God.
My wife and I were having a discussion before I watched Avengers, and I said word for word what he said at the movie. It came out of my mouth, and after it happened to him, I went, "Told you, he's not a bad guy. He's just misguided, just like me." So do I think he was right? In a sense, yes. I think he's what you would call in D&D terms lawful evil. He's a villain. He's not necessarily bad. He has good intentions. Everyone has good intentions. He's just doing it the wrong way.
Right. Yeah. I never saw the movie, but I've read the comics several times. He's one of my favorite characters. I got his figure over there with Lady Death. Thanos is one of my favorite villains. Flawed, imperfection, extremely powerful, underrated. Just an incredible creation by Marvel. I'm glad he existed. But I don't know. He's just he's a likable villain. Let's put it that way.
Right. Yeah, he's definitely.
I was putting together his extra life thing right now.
That's not me. So I liked it, and I thought Thanos was definitely justified. I would be the guy that would snap my fingers just because. Whatever. I was down. So, does it get hot in the costume? These are questions. That's why they're being asked. They're so.
Does it get hot in the costume? Dragons?
The answer is yes, because I've heard him say it.
Yes, it does. In the mask, yeah, I take it off every 10 minutes. That's why I have a 10-minute break there, and I try and get creative with the commercial breaks there to retain my audience, because I know it's a long break that any other way it could be done, I would lose most of my audience by the time I came back. So that's what I do. I put my mask in a freezer for 10 minutes and pull it out when I want to come back for the dance floor.
The dance floor. All right, so there's the answer to the costume is hot, and it gets frozen, and then he does what he does.
Dongers.
And he.
Sorry, I didn't. I wanted to talk
We'll
about
close. We'll close out with reminding everybody that 3 p.m. Eastern Sunday, community meeting in the conference room, the shed. Everybody's welcome. Be in there. And Saturday morning, 7 a.m., Spider-Man with Sploom over on mixer.com/Sploom. Check him out, do his thing with Spider-Man game. It's going to be a hot game for those that are interested in it. Dragon, anything you want to close out with? Shout out before you head out.
Just, keep it positive, guys. Come hang out, join the shed, That's about it. Have a good time on Mixer.
And bring the power. Yeah.
Power. Defect, how about you?
Oh, welcome everybody on Mixer. Tell your friends, especially your girlfriends. Let me tell you, all right? Bring them to Mixer. Tell them about the community. Yeah. We're going to be busting down Twitch doors left, right, and center. Get out of my face!
Hit him with the flick.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Powerful. You guys laughing at me or with me? Jesus.
With you. The
Okay.
best, the most.
A little column A, a little column B.
Just double checking.
It's fantastic. And Arnold might be back talking you back there. I don't know, but
Really? Really? Arnold, how about you shut your yapper back here, right? I see you putting your little rabbit ears in my head.
You did, pal.
Take your little rabbit ears out of my... Get them out
thanks
of the
for joining us this week on Power Hour. I'm the host, PowWarPig. Check out the Shed team. Love you guys. We're going to go hit up the raid and stuff. Have a great night and a good weekend.
Night.
Power Hour is made possible by the Shed team and the Mixer community. Find us on Twitter at the Shed team or on the web at www.theshedteam.com.